All right, one more example. So we're not going to try and dive in and do the long version of those C declarations. That's a problem for a different course. But what about matching comments? I like this example because it's actually a little bit more complicated than it seems. So what I want to do is I want to match a one of these star slash or slash star star slash style C comments, the comments with a beginning and end. And what I would like to do ultimately is be able to take a string that contains maybe several comments. So here's one string that contains two comments. I would like to be able to take a string like this, and using re.findAll, I would like to be able to pull out the inside of each comment. And the reason this is going to end up being a bit weird is if you just think about a comment as being anything that starts with slash star and ends with star slash, that actually isn't the right definition, because that would make this whole thing one comment. It begins with slash star, it ends with star slash. So a comment is a bit more complicated than that. A comment will be a sequence of characters beginning with slash star and ending with star slash, but that doesn't contain another star slash somewhere in the middle. And that's one of those things where the iterative development and having test cases can often catch that issue because it may not be obvious just thinking about the problem. So let's see if we can write a regular expression that can do this. We can pull out the inside of a comment even if there are multiple comments in the string. So we'll start with a basic idea. We'll just write something. Now, you'll notice this is even more ugly than usual because if I want to match the literal text slash star, well, wait a minute, that star is a special character. That's the clean star. If I want to match a literal star character, I have to use backslash star. So we're already off to a good start there. We've already got some horrible looking prologue and epilogue characters. This is just matching the edge of the comment. So slash star and then star slash. What I'm going to start with is saying, can we just match slash star and then anything and then star slash? We'll just start with that. Okay, so this works, this matches, this doesn't match, but this shouldn't match because right now I'm doing a full match. I'm saying, is the entire string a comment? And the answer here is, well, no, it isn't. There's a comment in the string, but the entire string is not itself a comment. The problem is this. This string is not one comment, it's two comments. If I'm writing a regular expression that matches a single comment, this should not match. So I want to fix this problem. The reason I'm doing it this way with this isMatch function is because maybe I can do this in isolation if I start from this point of view. If I use findAll to begin with, I might not be able to catch the problem. So I try this pattern, doesn't work. It's too simple. It allows the star and the dot star to pick up too much information. It matches the beginning of a comment, the dot star eats up everything in the middle, and then it matches the end. So we need to fix that somehow. And so just to be clear, yeah, it was obvious earlier, but this is a valid input. I should actually be able to work with strings that have two comments. So I need to be able to handle this case. Okay, well, I could try something like this, and it's already getting a bit complicated. But basically what I want to do is I want to match slash star and then anything but this, followed by this. In other words, I want to make sure that in the inside of my comment, I never see this star slash, because that doesn't make any sense. I'm not allowed to have that inside of a comment. Okay, so how do I do anything but star slash? Well, what I think is I just want any sequence of characters that doesn't contain star slash. In other words, either it isn't a star, or it is a star followed by something that isn't a slash. I know that there's a lot going on there, but this sub-expression does describe all of the characters I can expect to see. Either anything that isn't a star, or a star followed by anything that isn't a slash, and then repeated as many times as I want, including 0. There's the clean star. It could repeat 0 times, but that's fine because this would be considered a valid comment, a comment with nothing in it. Okay, so that's one way of doing it, and it's already looking really ugly. If I use that original really simple pattern to try and extract comments with findAll, then I get this predictable result of it extracts the entire string as one big comment, which is obviously not what I want. If I use my improved pattern, then I end up getting something really weird looking. So wait a minute, what happened there? Well, you might notice that I'm using brackets, And that means that find all thinks that I have a group. And so remember that when a group has a quantifier attached, the stuff you get when you capture that group, the contents of the group, are the last thing that the group matched. And in this case, this is the last character that ends up inside that group. It's a space, which is why we're getting this completely anomalous looking space as our result. So it's not necessarily that important why this is happening. The reason why we're getting a space and not some other junk. The reason we're getting erroneous results, though, is because of the brackets. If I use a non-capturing group, which means find all no longer is thinking that the comment contains groups, in this case, then find all will just look for the entire pattern, and I will get 2 separate comments. This is correct. This is exactly what I want. It is now able to go through and find the 2 separate comments appearing in the original string. Now, the task, though, was to pull out the contents. I only actually want this stuff. So I need to write something in my regular expression to only pull out the interior of the comment. And I can do that by adding a capturing group around the contents. So here is the /*, here is the //. I only want everything between them, and so I put round brackets around everything in the middle. Now, looking at this, noticing that problem we had a few minutes ago, and then looking at the difference, where is the difference? Why did the brackets work there, but not here? The reason why these brackets were such a problem is this. It's the star on the outside of the brackets. Because what this is saying is repeat any non-star / sequence 0 or more times. But a non-star / sequence could just be one single letter, or in fact, this space at the end. What I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, repeat any, here's the contents, anything that isn't a star or a star followed by something that isn't a / 0 or more times. But then the star is on the inside of these brackets, and so what ends up being grouped is every match of this subpattern together, not just the most recent one. That's why we're able to pull out the contents. That said, this is still a bit of a nightmare. It's not even a long pattern. There's just so much of a mess because of all the stars and slashes and because of this weird use of the or to match both anything that isn't a star and a star followed by anything that isn't a slash. So it actually turns out that there is another option. And before we talk about the option, we have to talk about what was wrong with my original pattern. So my original simple pattern, the kind of pattern that would work in a fair world, didn't work because of the way the star works. It's this. So I'm matching /*, looking good, any sequence of other things, and then a */. So the question is, where does the match end? Well, there are 2 ways it could work. So it could say, as soon as I can end the match, do it. End it here. And the dot star picks up everything in the middle. Or it could say, keep going for as long as possible, as long as there is still a match available. And that means I could stop as far as over here. Just pick up, with the dot star, pick up everything in the middle. And by default, the star operator is greedy. And that means that it will always pick up the longest possible match as long as the rules are obeyed. And because the rules will be obeyed if I take everything in the middle, because there is a */ at the end, this is a valid match. And because the star is greedy by default, it will always pick up the longest subsequence, even if it steps on a potential end of the match that could have happened earlier. So it's just because the star is greedy. And it turns out there is a way of turning that feature off. In Python, if you add after a quantifier, so after a star, after a question mark, after a plus, if you add another question mark afterwards, so this question mark is after a star, it's not the usual question mark operator because it's coming after a different quantifier. If you do this, you are telling it to go into non-greedy mode. And in non-greedy mode, it picks up the shortest possible match so that the rules are obeyed. So in this case, it would start by saying, okay, there's the beginning of a match. There's some stuff. Oh, wait, here's a place I can end the match, so end it there. Only pick up the minimum necessary for the match to be satisfied. So this is non-greedy quantifier. And of course, it is way easier to use than this horrible mess from earlier. And if we just add in a capturing group, we get the same result. And so knowing about greedy versus non-greedy quantification is really helpful because if you know when it's the greedy quantifier that's your problem, you could just add a question mark and get around this whole huge mess. Although both still work, and there are dialects of regular expressions that are fully featured but don't have non-greedy quantification, and they still work. So it's fine to only know one of the 2, but hopefully this point proves itself as to why it's helpful to know this.